What's up, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Live With. Today, we are sitting down with Kevin Reylek to talk about the upcoming Retro Rocket playing cards from Penguin Magic. Kevin, we are so excited to have you on, man. It's been a bit since you last were on to show off the Wranglers. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We are really excited, man. I always love to see when a new deck is coming out from Penguin because I think you guys really hit such a novelty fun market with your decks, especially this past year. I was just saying backstage, one of your favorite decks that you've put out in recent times has been the Ace Invaders for me, but I think this one comes in a very close second there.
Nice. So we'll just keep making nothing but space decks for you.
I'm down with it. It's really funny, dude, because I am not like a space kind of guy. Like I enjoy Star Wars, but I'm not like fanboy for sci-fi. So the fact that like I love these space decks, I don't know what it is, but they're great, man.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, same for me. I've seen Star Trek and Star Wars and all that, but I'm not super into it. But like, I love going to the Air and Space Museum in DC and just watching. When I was a kid, I used to watch the shuttle launches on TV and whatnot. I watched the landing of the Mars rover a couple months ago, and I think everyone just kind of has at least some kernel of interest or fascination in space travel and whatnot, and just kind
it's
of
the unknown, right?
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
not knowing what's beyond.
Yeah, so it's always a fun theme to play with, and so this will be the second of 3 total space decks that we have
Nice.
being released before the end of the year, and to show everyone what we're talking about.
Nice.
Backwards or anything.
Dude,
It's red too.
good-looking. I know that's it's funny because like Steve is always tough with red, but this one looks good, man.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah,
the light highlights with it.
Yeah, we try and do kind of different color schemes and whatnot, so we'll go kind of standard traditional, we'll go off the wall and do whatever color, we did the green succulents, or like the Ace Invaders had a very sort of unique color scheme.
Dude, but Kevin, look at that.
Red just felt right.
Look at the registration on that deck. Looks good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's, always a little bit of a crapshoot, we can't deny with USPC. But yeah, on this batch, it came out really pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll show you because we do have the back design in blue as well. So,
Sam, that looks good.
I like that.
Typically, our bonus gaff cards in most decks that we do are a double backer and a blank facer because those are just really versatile kind of utility cards. But
yeah,
for this one, it was just a hair that I had. So we still do have the red double backer in there. But then I was like, you know what? Instead of a blank facer, I was like, let's do a red-blue double backer. So that's
nice.
The back that you get in there. And
so
also sometimes you
just
kind of, sometimes you just want to kind of see it printed and be like, well, maybe the response will be good enough, and then maybe we'll print a whole batch in blue. So nothing firmly decided yet there. We'll see how the community responds to the first red one. But then, I love the blue on the gaff, so I certainly would not be against printing a full deck of
Kevin, I'm going to speak for the community and say, do the blue. It's dope.
Awesome. All right, that's settled then.
I don't think I have that much pull, but it just sounded cool to say.
I'll call USPC in the morning.
It's funny because like I know Steve's always going to push for a blue deck, but this thing actually, to me, looks better in red. And I don't know what it is. I know Steve doesn't believe it, but I don't know. Something about the design just seems to. I feel like red is, as weird as it sounds, I feel like red is more of a space-oriented color. I think the blue reminds me more of like.
Contrast looks better in the red. I'll agree.
Yeah, I think the blue almost reminds me more of like something like ice-oriented.
For sure, and I think that was where we went with red as the initial color scheme for the design. Because if nothing else, like if I think of a toy rocket ship from like the 1950s or something, I think of silver and or red. And so I think that just kind of permeates.
Right.
So rockets, we have rocket jokers. We did 2 distinct jokers. Sometimes we like to do matching jokers because obviously that's kind of a nice thing for magicians and that's a big part of our audience.
Yeah.
But other times it's fun to do both because then if you need duplicates, it's like, well, you just crack open 2 decks and then you have duplicate jokers.
Switch them, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of do either or depending on
those are
what
fun.
Feels right for the deck.
Dude, it definitely looks good. And it's funny too because like I even love the seal on it. It's so simple and honestly, when you first open the deck, you almost wouldn't know the seal is there because it blends so nicely, but then you go to open it, you're like, oh, look at this. It adds such a nice little layer of depth to it with the little like planet with the rocket ship going around it. Dude, those little touches, I have to say, really are what always catch my eye with the Penguin decks, because I think, you being a very much collector oriented, obviously you're magically oriented with the decks as well, but being collector oriented, you add fine detail that I don't think a lot of other places that gear towards Magic usually would even think about. Something as simple as a seal that just adds that little level of exclusivity and fun to it, and another surface for artwork,
Yeah,
Sure.
I think it's funny because I'm kind of love-hate relationship with seals. There's a lot of decks that seals are just kind of not needed. They just don't look good. They ruin the design. But I agree with Tyler on this. I think the seal definitely adds to the deck. It looks like that the planet kind of fits perfectly in that little thumb groove too.
It really does.
It pretty much does, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try and spend enough time on the art and everything, and make sure all the pieces come together. And
Yeah, I mean, that's
I'm
so
right
cool.
there with you, Steve, on the love-hate thing with seals. I'll even go as far, I'll go out on a limb and say that I'll take at least partial credit or partial blame for the trend in, at least in Magic decks, not having seals.
Yeah.
Back when I was at the Blue Crown, we had decided to do the Crown decks with no seals. And at that point, with all decks, standard or custom, it was pretty common for everything to have seals. I'm not saying we were the very first,
Right.
but I think we were pretty early in the game where Alex and I were like, hey, you know what? Like, seals, and again, this is from a magician perspective. On a collector deck, I think seals make 100% sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm opening just a deck of bikes or whatever for Magic, the seal is just an obstacle and something that gets ratty and gummy and doesn't look good with the rest of the art of the project. So yeah, with the Crown decks, we did no seal. And then a few years ago, when we did the Elite Bikes at Penguin and the Marked Maidens, since those are both highly magician geared, we just left the seals off. And by and large, the feedback on that is really good. There are some people who still like really wish that the seal was there, but I would say the majority of feedback I've seen, people are all like, good, get rid of the seal, at least for Magic.
Yeah, because I think most magicians, when they open up a deck, it's hot enough getting the freaking cello off, and then they have to worry about, obviously USPCC finally got their shit together and their cello is now able to, come off easily. But
Yeah.
Working care bands.
yeah, but I mean, I think just, you see, some of these magicians, whether they're on AGT or TV or something, and they're opening up a brand new deck, you can see them fiddling with the seal to like pop it, and I think it's just so much easier just opening it up and
I gotta say, man, feeling this thing in hand too, and I know this is a print run of 2,500, right? So I'm guessing you went with the crushed stock on this one.
Yep, this is the thin crushed stock. That's for me a personal favorite, and again, something
feels so
that we
good.
found our customer base has really enjoyed. We did our first thin crushed deck in 2016. It was the Blue Choice that we did with Ben Colosi.
Nice.
And we had done that because they were a tribute deck to the old studs, and so we wanted that feel because it's sort of like more of a vintage vibe. And as soon as I got that deck in my hands, I was like, I really want rider backs with this feel. So that's where Elite Edition bikes came from. And then over the years, we've just continued to use it on a lot of our print runs. And yeah, I always just love busting open a thin brush deck and having that flex and whatnot. Because for me, I don't really do pressure fanning and whatnot, but I do spring cards a lot, whether just as a fidget thing at my desk. And, yeah, just not having to put as much crazy grip into performing that one move.
It's kind of surprising how much effort it takes to do it on like a bicycle deck, on the non-crushed deck. Obviously the premium stock is a little easier to do, but
any of the big stock decks, sometimes they really can be like, have you guys ever handled, I don't know if they printed a lot of decks with it, but there was an iron stock, or they called it iron finish, I think. Someone put in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. Bill Kalush, expert, had done at least a trial run of decks where I'm 99% sure he called it iron stock. And this wasn't USPC, but man, those things were like, you had to be He-Man to spring that deck.
Probably a couple weeks ago, we were actually watching, we were going through Kickstarter and we saw a deck and the person had their prototype deck. And I kid you not.
Oh, dude, it was like super thick.
It looked like it was like this thick.
Yeah,
I wish I was kidding. It was like
crazy.
this thick. And I'm like, what is this? Like 108 deck, card deck here?
I think I commented on it in the video.
Oh my God. I definitely think you did, because it was like obscenely thick.
I'm like, is it me or
Wow.
is that deck super
Yeah.
thick?
Like if you had taken like the throwing stock that USPCC has and like combined a deck and a half, that's what it looked like.
Wow.
It was crazy.
I wonder where that prototype came from.
Yeah.
Cannon Epson.
Yeah, I'm guessing someone printed on some manila
Like
paper
some photo
and
paper or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
it was
Hey, whatever
brutal.
gets the job done, you know.
No doubt
New
about that.
construction German stock.
And speaking about getting the job done while everyone out there is watching, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And ring the bell.
I had to take a little quick pick there, you know? It's a good opportunity. But so Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about the backstory behind this? I know we had talked a little bit earlier that this is the second space-oriented deck, the first being Ace Invaders, which I highly recommend if anyone hasn't picked it up, go pick it up.
Yep.
But what really prompted the idea of not only space, but the whole collector aspect of playing cards at Penguin? I know you have a bit of a collector background. You probably have some of the most obscure prototype and unknown decks I've seen around. You've shown us some real crazy stuff on the behind the scenes there. But what
I
really
have some
got
rare,
that
one
hook
of a kind things, that is for sure.
I know, and
very
I
lucky
love
in
it.
that
I feel
regard.
like every time we talk, you show us one, I'm just like, God, like what? I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. But for you, what's a lot of the motivation that you find behind building up these decks on the collector side, especially for Penguin?
On a personal level, I'll start with me personally, I guess, and then move into Penguin. I can't turn off that side of my brain. I can't live life without seeing things and being like, that would be a cool deck, whether it's a word or wherever. If I go to museums or whatever, aquariums, I'm looking at things and then I'm Googling for whatever species of thing I'm looking at, and I'm just like, this thing would be an awesome deck of cards. There's one, nobody's allowed to take this idea, but I'm going to say it here. There's a type of salamander called a Hellbender. And I'm like, it's in the list.
Here's the thing: nobody can steal it because I'm pretty sure that it's probably already done.
See, what I love about this too, because I went to go look it up, and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be like a badass salamander, and it is. But this first line of description on it says the Hellbender, sometimes called a snot otter.
Nice.
So that 100% sells me on this deck. I don't care. I don't care whether you hate Hellbender and love snot otter or the other way around. This deck is gonna be badass.
That is funny.
Oh my
That's
God.
funny.
I love it.
So yeah, for me, it's just I've been into Magic and cards since I was a little kid. I love seeing new decks. I love thinking of new decks, creating them, working with artists, and seeing ideas become tangible things.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the Penguin side of that, so our most successful stuff for magicians are all standard bikey kind of things, either Rider or Maiden, and gaff decks that we do and that sort of thing, because magicians more or less want tricks. Obviously, there's that Venn diagram overlap of magicians who are also collectors, but more often than not, a magician wants a Svengali deck or a stripper deck or whatever fun new gaff, but they want it in bike because they want it to match all the other decks that we use. And so those are great. That feeds another part of my brain and obviously a big part of our business. But, everyone at Penguin is a creative, artistic type person. And so the more custom collector decks really kind of scratch that itch for us, where we can think of cool, fun ideas, and we don't have to do super huge print runs or anything. We can do small print runs where we're just intending things to be a one-off. And if something really makes a big splash, like the Honeybees, that was our first ever custom deck, but we've done 9 variations on it now to date in the last 6 years. And so that's one that, we're not going to just pump out 2 or 3 new Honeybees a year every year.
Right.
If we'd been doing that, we'd have 50 of them by now. But when it feels right, to bring back something that we've done before, either sort of as just a direct V2 or with some modifications. So I will say, like the glider backs that we produced earlier this year, they were very popular. The standard ones have sold out. So it's looking very, very likely that we're going to do a V2. And those won't be just a straight reprint. We're making changes to that. So maybe we'll see those in 2022.
I'd like to see the jellyfish.
Yeah, I love the
jellyfish deck. Is so good. That color is beautiful.
It was
such a cool
perfect.
Deck.
Jellyfish was an idea that I'd wanted to do forever. Because same thing, like I mentioned, going to the aquarium. And if you ever go to a really nice aquarium that has like an awesome jellyfish tank, it's just mesmerizing.
Yeah.
It just always seemed to have this cool flow that seemed like it'd be perfect on a deck of cards. And sometimes you just sit on ideas for a few years until the timing is right and you find the right artist. And so that was actually the first deck that we worked on with Drew Hughes, who then he did the Ace Invaders, and we have some other things that works with Drew. So yeah, loved those. But yeah, with the Retro Rockets, it was that thing of we like sort of the retro vintage vibe. We were playing with other space ideas, so we had sort of the flying saucer Martian element thing that we were doing with Drew. But then we had this, rocket vintage thing, and so we went to Doug with that one. He did our robots deck that we did earlier,
which I love that
so
one too.
Yeah, we really loved his style and vibe, and that he felt like the right fit for that theme. And so we knocked it out, and it's really great. Different artists obviously all work different ways. Some people work pure digital, and so their rough draft is near print ready sometimes, or they're like, here's my idea, and it's because they either did it in Procreate or Illustrator or wherever they did it, but it's digital and in color and whatnot. Doug works in pencil first. So
you were saying that.
And it was just like, whoa, like that looks awesome. And then, give him a little time, and he comes back and he's like, here's the thing. I'm just blown away by it. So, and then with the faces as well, because that's always kind of, we want to keep playability in mind in terms of our color scheme and our font choices and that sort of thing. But you also want it to be custom and unique and fun and on theme. So it's a nice thing, well, when they say with art, like they say, I'm going to paraphrase here, that like boundaries help creativity, because if you give people just full carte blanche, then they have too much freedom and they can kind of get like paralyzed.
Yeah.
So it's nice that there are sort of standards and rules and things that people know about with playing cards.
I love that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we went with just sort of these pretty pure black and pure red quartz, where they're all astronauts. Most of them you can't see through their visors or anything.
Nice.
They have such a fun vibe to them, though. They really almost kind of feel like the black, especially like the black suits. They almost feel like something you'd see out of like a space horror movie or something.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of where our minds were at. Was all sort of pre-Apollo 11, like pre-moon landing, when the whole vibe of space travel was still very much a dream and a fantasy. When people were, thinking that there's little green men on Mars and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So then we'll show some of our custom pips and fonts. So the
nice fatty pips. I love those.
Yeah, nice fat pips and relatively slightly smaller than standard index corners, but still positioned well that they come across nicely in the fan.
You just do a backward, like an underhand fan.
Oh yeah, I'm a lefty, so I fan weird.
Do that again.
So most people, I don't know if I'm backwards again. Most
people do it from the top.
Yeah, they'll do it with where it's sticking out here, so they hold it in their left hand if they're right-handed, and then they do the action this way. For me, because I'm a lefty, if I was to do that same kind of grip of holding it in a similar posture and following that kind of technique, you wind up with a blank fan. So lefties wind up learning, because ultimately what you're doing is fanning clockwise. And so I learned how to fan clockwise. So I hold the deck starting down, and I still fan clockwise.
That's crazy.
That's how I fan.
Crazy.
And then you learn it both ways in each hand, because you're a weirdo with too much time on his hand.
We're going to have you like come on at some point, Kevin, just to do like a left-handed fan tutorial.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like, here you go. Zombon says, mind blown.
Yeah. Crazy. I saw that. I'm like, what the hell? Because obviously, when doing the fan, I would like you see the cards.
Right, you're used to seeing it come out the top of people's hands.
But when you
I can be like, look,
when you brought your hand up, I didn't see it, and then all of a sudden the fan was there. I'm like, what the heck?
That's so good.
So
oh
funny.
my god, I love it. And
That's
so,
awesome.
I don't want to completely steal the show with your left-handed fan there, but that being said,
wherever the conversation goes,
that's always our favorite part about the show is we could end up completely in a different world, aka Retro Rockets, talking from cards to wherever, and I love it. But so these actually drop next Tuesday as well, the 7th, right?
Yep. The 7th.
And-
Yep. Right after. So a lot of the time we'll launch on Monday or Tuesday usually, and with this Monday being Labor Day for Tuesday launch.
Yeah,
And
it
you have
makes
that
sense.
super dope early bird, right?
And yeah, obviously we want good art, we want good quality with our cardstock and our finish and everything, but we want good value as well. And
Yeah.
so, the MSRP on these is going to be $12, which feels like a very good kind of industry standard right now. But we love
That's a great
to support those who support us, and so the folks who love to jump in and buy in those early first couple of days, we love to give them a little launch discount. So they're only going to be $9 at
so
launch.
good.
And then the other thing we're doing, we started doing these over the summer with our honeybees. Of course, we have the half brick. So if you buy a 6-pack, you get the half brick box.
Nice.
It's a fun looking
Of
half
course.
brick box too.
Printed on the inside.
It's fun.
So, you gotta have it.
It just looks so
And-
good.
Yeah, and the market has really seemed to go into this. Obviously, back in the day, it was sort of singles versus bricks. And
Yeah.
a lot of folks don't really need a dozen, especially now when there's 20 new decks a week and whatnot. And people are
Yeah.
kind of like, spread their budget to as many different projects as they can. It's like, we want to appeal to that collector desire and all that sort of thing, but not forcing people to spend $120 or something on a burger card. So,
Yeah. I
although
think a
you're
lot of
welcome to
people
buy 2 6-packs for, buy 3 or 4 of them. I don't want to dissuade anyone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on the brick side, it's easier when you have multiple, colors, so to speak. If you have like
Sure.
a red, blue, and a green, they can mix it up and they're not getting 12 of one deck. They're getting
Totally.
4 of each, and that's a little bit more manageable. Like you
Yeah.
said, you're getting different decks rather than 12 of the same, which is like impossible nowadays because there's so many damn decks coming
And
out.
with doing direct release, because we've done some Kickstarters in the past, but we haven't done one in a couple of years now. And so when you are coming out with a fresh design, it is a big leap of faith to do multiple colors at once. So that's one thing that I do
Yeah.
like on Kickstarter is that people can do their stretch goals and whatnot and do sort of these multiple variants.
Right.
But with these, it's always just sort of like, obviously we never do a deck that we don't like, but we're like, cool, we like retro rockets. We're like, we hope everyone else does, but maybe they won't. Or same thing, you drop 2 colors at once and one of them's popular and the other isn't. So then you wind up with a weird.
That's when you have to just solve those pairs. They have no choice.
What would be interesting too, as I'm looking at this double backer here, because I know Steve loves blue, and so I keep looking at this being like, how could blue work on this? I mean, listen, I think it works the way it does. I think I'm
great.
preferential to the red, but I was just thinking too, if you did the design where it was primarily blue, but where you had the lighter pieces of blue, if you actually did like a color aspect of it, so the planet could become like a
Green, like a lime green.
I'm not thinking lime green. I'm thinking like a space color, like Jupiter's color, like that tan color, and you add a little bit of like actual like real life color to it. That might actually make the blue a little more contrasty, while at the same time still having all of that blue background, which looks so good.
For sure. Totally.
Dude,
Gotta
that's
put
the
some
fun-
Martian colors in there, man.
Well, that's why you get the Ace Invaders. You get them both, and you can
This
start
one's
building.
Martian colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking like the biohazard Martian color, like
Right.
yeah.
Oh my god, I love it. No, and I think it's smart that you guys play the price point the way you do, because the biggest thing I think people forget about playing cards is it's a volume business. You can do a great thing. I mean, we've seen great decks that come out and people do 100 of them and they sell them for $50 a piece, and 100 people get them, and then in 2 years they're a lot of money, and there's just no visibility. And while that's really cool, it's also tough to build a brand around playing cards if only a small segment of the market actually has or has held your playing cards. Whereas if you're looking to sell 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, however many you're looking to sell, that price point plays a big impact on it. And so I bet you get a lot of people who do come in and they're buying 3 or 4 decks instead of just one, because it's at $20 it would be a different story.
Sure. Yeah, and for me, I mean, the price thing and the quantity, I mean, we spend a bunch of time working on these. We spend months designing them, we spend months printing them. And so it's like, as much as the super limited stuff that's come around in the last couple of years is fun, like you see these decks now that are 100 or fewer or something like that. I love that that technology is available now, that we can do these one-offs, whether it's, you know, if Lotrek's doing something real small, or just if people are printing with shuffled ink or make playing cards or wherever they're printing.
Yeah.
That's super cool, but it's really tough to feel that pressure of like, I've got to log on to a site within the first 30 seconds and hope that my internet doesn't crash and spend a bunch of money to get this one thing. It's kind of nice to have the pressure off and be like, hey, that deck is cool. I like the artwork on it. The price is good. I know that it's not gonna like be gone in 30 seconds, because you know we want to share that work with as many people as possible.
Yeah. I mean, under
Not
10
just have
bucks
it
is
be,
amazing.
yeah, 50 people being like, oh, I've got this. And again, nothing wrong with that. I'm a collector, and so I like having rare things as well, where it's like, hey, there's only so many. But my mindset for decks still is, you know, I remember when the minimum print run at USPC was 5,000 decks. That was my first ever print run.
That's
5,000
crazy.
decks. And this
Yeah.
is pre-Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So it used to be like if you had a deck idea, you really had to, you know, put your money where your mouth was.
Right.
I'm glad that the minimums are less now because it allows more people to do more cool creative stuff. But yeah, you know, I would much rather that, you know, a couple thousand people have this in their collection than a couple hundred.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, especially at $9. I mean, that's definitely a worker's deck price. It allows people to get, you know, as many as they can and
Sure.
not worry about blowing through them, you know.
Yeah, and for a long time I would buy. I know kind of a popular thing now with collectors is like one to open and one to keep sealed in case they want to sell or trade it later. I used to get three because it would be kind of like one to open and really use until it's totally worn out and trashed, and then like another to open and kind of keep nice just for occasional viewing, and then one to keep sealed. And now it varies deck by deck. Some stuff I'll just get one stuff, some I'll get a few. It just kind of depends on what the deck is.
Tyler kind of started out doing the 3 decks of each, and that's
Yeah.
that ended pretty quick.
Open one, save two.
Yeah.
Like, nah, that gets costly, and you'll run out of space very quickly.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
now I'm just like, hey, I got a deck of cards. I enjoy it. I open it. I look at it. I may not wear it out to exhaustion, but at the same time, like, I'm gonna have fun with it. So
Yeah. Yep. And that's where I'm at. For me, obviously, so this will maybe be controversial. People can comment in the chat or comments or whatever they're doing right now. There's always that question. I see it come up a lot in collector groups or on playing card subreddits and things where people, especially if they're new to the hobby, they're like, oh, should I open my cards or should I keep them sealed? And 100% if you're collecting primarily because you like the monetary value of your collection and what it could potentially grow into, and you think that someday maybe you'll leave the hobby and you want to sell everything and have it pristine, that's totally fine. But more or less, like if people just love playing cards and whatnot, I'm like, for me, if the option is I can only get one deck, I'm gonna open it. Because if you keep it sealed, you're only enjoying one small aspect of all the work and effort that went into it. You know, it's like you don't get to see the custom courts and pips and aces and whatever else they're
Right.
doing. So I'm like, that, and when you keep a deck in cellophane, so many people now are doing amazing things with premium papers and foil and embossing and whatever, and you can't see or feel those fine details when they're trapped behind cellophane. So I am
Yeah.
all for get rid of cellophane. I break my seals. You know, do what you want. Some people peel them, and I saw somebody make a post where they put it inside the flap.
That's what I
They'll
do.
peel it off carefully and put it in here. I was like,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty clever.
That's what I do.
um,
I usually just break them, or for a while I
Yeah.
was cutting them, but I didn't like the way the cut looked.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If they do
yeah.
peel, I'll peel them and throw them on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting too, because like you said, with the tucks, I've found more and more decks now where upon opening the cellophane, the texture of the tuck box itself is the first thing that blows my mind. You get into it and it's a really nice craft paper feel, or it's got
Mhm.
kind of like a waxy paper feel, like the which one was it? The Antlers, but the latest Antlers by D&D. It almost, the
Okay,
paper almost
yeah.
had like a waxy feel to it.
Like
Or
a
you get
soft
these,
touch kind of paper.
yeah, like things like that. Like to me, you've already just blown people's expectations out of the water without them even opening the deck. And that's what's so exciting about it. Like for anyone out there who doesn't open their deck of cards, like you really are missing out across the board. And especially on a deck that's affordable. Like if you're worried about it, do the route I used to do, pick up 2, pick up 3, but like they're made to be played with at the end of the day. There's are some exceptions. If you're out there and you're buying one of 10 decks, all right, I get it,
there are
but
certain things. Yeah, for me, any mass-produced deck that comes into my collection, and a lot I'll buy one of. So I have a pretty extensive collection of marked decks, and I try and buy any one that comes out on the market. With most of those now, I'm buying one and I'm opening it and using it. But yeah, if I get, if I stumble across a Microsoft Blame deck, that one I'm going to pause and maybe not open. Or a lot of vintage decks. It's so difficult now to come across a really nice mint, fully sealed deck, sort of pre-1950. That when I encounter some of those, so I have a DeLand automatic deck from the early 1940s that's still sealed. And so I was like, nope, not opening that one because there's plenty of other open
understandable.
Yeah, for sure.
So for some of that stuff that truly is unique and collectible, like there is value in that packaging material, in that intact seal and cellophane or wax paper or whatever it had. But any modern decks, short of a very few exceptions, I'm team open your decks. But that's the other beautiful thing is some people collect only antique, only vintage, only modern, only a particular designer, only a particular brand or theme or whatever. I have a friend who only collects frog playing cards.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like
only collects what? Frogs?
Frogs. Yep.
So when's the Penguin Frog deck coming out?
Who knows? The list of ideas is vast.
Yeah, right.
And as you mentioned though too, you being somewhat of an antique collector as well as kind of an all-around collector, how much does the antique part of it play into your thoughts around designs and ideas?
I love vintage and antique decks. For anyone who's not a member, you should join 52 Plus Joker and
100%.
get that monthly magazine, or it's a quarterly magazine. We have a monthly email newsletter. I'm just a member. I'm not like on the board or anything. They have a monthly email publication that's great, and then a quarterly hard copy, and just fascinating material about all walks and branches of playing cards. I particularly am a fan of Doherty, Andrew Doherty designs from sort of late 1800s, early 1900s. But so many vintage and antique decks. I really love that woodcut engraved style. That just really kind of speaks to me. And so I love seeing those old ones. And we definitely sometimes will take inspiration from those. And a bunch of designers do. I would say probably the most prolific would be Jackson. He's not shy about letting that be known. His Tigers
who's
deck,
Jackson?
Obviously. Right. Oh, Jackson Brown. You never heard of him?
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering who. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jackson. I gotta give Jackson crap. He's in the chat, so gotta.
What's up, Jackson? Jackson does amazing things where he'll take vintage things and he'll revamp them for the current market and technology that we have. And so, there's nobody better than him in terms of bringing that stuff back to life.
Yeah, he makes it modern too. Which is really cool.
So I love
he's an amazing eye for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just also something fun where it's to see things where everything old is moving. So at Penguin, we did the DeLand Centennials. We did these 100-year-old mark decks, and we revamped them to sort of more modern sensibilities, but we kept the vintage things where that still felt appropriate. So it was this really nice blend of what was being done 100 years ago versus today, and I love those decks. Those are among the favorites of all the various ones we've done.
I love that baseball, sport
feel
to the ballpark feel.
He has that baseball Ace of Spades, and one of his mark decks that was also from 1919, but one that we chose to not go down the reprint path was the league back deck, which is fully baseball themed.
That's really cool.
And that's one thing that I don't know about DeLand is where sort of the interest in baseball came from, because obviously he had to be into it if he put it on his decks of cards.
Yeah.
Unless it was just something that he thought was marketable. Maybe he was like, baseball's popular, I'm going to put this on there. I don't know. But my assumption is that he must have really enjoyed baseball, either watching or playing or something, to have done what he did with his decks.
And that's legit one of my favorite mark decks too, because there's just so much utility to the marking system.
Nice. Yeah, we're playing. We have some other DeLand inspired things in the works that we'll probably see next calendar year.
Nice.
But I'm excited to show those to everybody.
Dude, well,
That's
you know
just-
what?
yeah,
we know where
yeah,
to find
so-
you when they're coming out. That's for
You
sure.
do, yep.
Was that the last Kickstarter you did? That the lens one?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, you were talking about, the last one was a while ago, so I think that
yeah.
one was the
I
last
think
one.
that was maybe we did one more after that. In my old age, my brain starts to go with,
Yeah, tell me
so
about
many
it.
projects. That's well, I regret that I have not kept a consistent, ongoing running list of all the projects that I've been involved with, because between the handful that I've self-produced, all the ones that we did at Blue Crown and HOPC while I was there, and now all the ones we've done at Penguin, I have a pretty good idea, and I know like what the print quantities were for each run and all that sort of thing. But you start to forget, and you're just like, I don't even know what year we put something out, or how many we did, or exactly what. So
You gotta get
sometimes
that
other
Bible
collectors know
ready,
better
man.
than
You
me.
gotta stay up to date with that, so you can have those numbers.
Dude,
I know it's well over 200 different decks and well over 1 million total individual decks.
Jesus,
Beyond
that's
that,
crazy.
it was
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, you just
That is
can't
crazy.
keep counting at a certain point.
Dude, and honestly, I have to say, like, a lot of people echoed this in the chat as well. I think Penguin has really just been knocking it out of the park this year. I think you guys have been dropping banger after banger, and in an interesting kind of niche, because I think a lot of the decks have that kind of vintage vibe to them. So they're really hitting on like fun, nostalgic feels that a lot of people are just like, you can't deny they look awesome. You know, like you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I wouldn't expect that. And then you see it and you're like, oh, this is fun. Like they're fun, they're family friendly, they're definitely nostalgic, but like they're just great, man.
And Tyler, there's 3 left.
I know, I'm excited.
3
man.
more, right? For the rest of the year?
Well, you would think, because yeah, we have October, November, December, but the holidays are special times, so
Yeah.
we
Maybe-
may pull
maybe
the
an
stops
extra
out
one?
a little bit more.
Dude, I am down. You keep putting them out. We'll keep getting on here and talking about them, man, because we love them.
Sounds
No
good to
joke.
me. Yeah, and that's sort of the blended fun and tragedy of it, is that, like, so we just put out Wranglers last month, and so I can't sit and be like, Wranglers for several months, because it's like, nope, now we got Retro Rockets.
I can't
As soon
believe that
as
was
we
only a
launch
month ago.
these-
I know.
What's that?
I can't believe that was only a
almost.
month ago.
Yeah, we've been putting out one a month for, it'll be a year October. We started our monthly schedule last October.
Nice.
Been knocking those out.
Ooh.
And then-
That means next
Yeah.
month is your Halloween deck, isn't it?
That's right.
I'm really excited about that.
Last year was scary, right?
Yeah, it was the
3D deck.
3D deck. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year was the Screams at Midnight that we did with Phil, and it came with the 3D glasses and everything. And so that was one where sometimes I'll go to an artist with a very specific sort of prompt. So with this one, we knew that we wanted to do space and rockets and that sort of thing. And with Phil, I just knew that I wanted a marked Halloween deck. I was given the talk about marked decks at 52 Plus Joker, which takes place in October. And so when we can, we always like to drop a new deck during the convention. And so it was like, cool, this all ties in with Halloween and the talk on marked stuff, so let's do a marked Halloween deck. And so I went to Phil and we started just kicking ideas around, and we landed on this whole like nostalgic movie monster thing. And because that obviously was a great fit for the 3D. And we were all like, do it in 3D? And so we played around a little bit with that and did some tests, and it worked out, and found a place that would make us custom 3D glasses. And yeah, the rest was history. So I was super pumped about that deck. It was really fun. And big shout out to our team in Ohio who does our videos. So Nick Lacapo and Eric Tate, I'm sure probably some other people helped them. But yeah, even if you're not interested in owning that deck, go over to Penguin, search for Screams at Midnight, and watch the demo video that Nick and Eric and team put together for that one, because it was just awesome.
Yeah.
And then buy the deck. I think we still have some left, and Halloween's coming sooner than you know, so pick some of those up and have a fun 3D deck for Halloween.
I know, right? A nice little 3D party.
Can't go wrong with it. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, this year's Halloween deck, I think people are really gonna like. And to give some hints, it's something that we had teased a year and a half ago, and then put on
Nice.
pause for a while. But we went ahead and moved forward with it and did it bigger and better than we originally planned. So I think people are going to be really stoked on that.
We're excited about it.
I'm really excited. Everyone's gonna have to keep an eye out for those teasers and just wait to see when you come back on to talk about it, man. Because
So,
Halloween decks, Or a blast. Honestly, I feel like Halloween, everyone as an adult has like a love or hate relationship with Halloween. I,
Yeah.
I'm down with Halloween. I'm down with the fun decks. I always love seeing all the Halloween decks that people come out with because I feel like it's one of those holidays where like guaranteed most big producers are dropping something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially with the time with Magic, I think for most magicians, Halloween is among their favorite holidays. It's certainly my
Yeah.
favorite holiday. And it's just such a ripe time to do cool, fun presentations for Magic and whatnot. And so, same thing, there's just so much material to sift through and be inspired by for Halloween decks. So we've done a few over the years at Penguin, and I know some other folks. So to bring up Jackson again, he's done at least one. But no, he's done two. He did the 8's Halloween and the trick or treat bag.
Yep.
Jackson will tell you what other ones he's done. He probably has
Jackson
like 5
does,
more that he designed
does
last
something
week.
for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be a birth deck coming out, like about storks or something.
And then
I'm down.
the Bucks, they've done some Halloween decks as
Yeah.
well. The Buck Twins. So
Andrea
I know I'm
has.
missing others.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that. I'm always like, because that's at the end of the day, I consider myself, even though I'm a deck producer and creator, I consider myself just a collector and fan and user first and foremost. So I get excited as anybody else to see the various people putting out new cool stuff. So,
Yeah.
I think that's all the
I'm gonna put it on these shelves around.
well, and I think that's probably part of what makes you such a driving force in these decks and the creations and why they're so successful is because you are coming to it with that usability and collector's mindset.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't look at these as just a commodity where I'm like, cards, who cares? Like, man, yeah. If I were driven solely by money, I would not be in this business because there's a
No.
lot of other easier ways to make a lot more money.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Oh,
That is for
gosh, I love
sure.
Well, for everyone out there who is excited as we are about these retro rockets, which are dropping on September 7th, I highly recommend you go follow Penguin Magic and Penguin Cards on Instagram so you don't miss out on any of the teasers or the details around this dope dude, I love this half brick box. It's just fun.
Anyway,
You got to pick up a couple of these so you can build a little like space colony here. And
or just every month when we put a new one out, so you'll have your Wrangler's brick from last month with
Nice.
brick with your retro rockets, and just have a whole little cubby of various.
I smell a
Penguin
half brick
bricks.
subscription coming soon.
Oh.
There you go, man. A mix
Kevin's like,
of
just
We'll
add more
see,
work to
we'll
my
see.
plate. Oh my god, I love it. But again, for anyone who's down with these retro rockets, honestly, they have such a fun vibe. They feel great in hand. I absolutely love the crushed stock here. And dude, the artwork is just dope. So I definitely recommend everyone check them out. Go give Penguin Magic and Penguin Cards a follow on Instagram. Make sure to keep an eye out on all the information there. These are going to be dropping September 7th. I'm tempted to ask Kevin what time, but I know the answer is going to be sometime around 11. And with that in
usually
mind,
midday Eastern. It's no exact science.
that's why I love it, because it isn't an exact science. But sometime around midday Eastern on September 7th, that is next Tuesday. And don't miss out on the early bird special on this. You're going to have 72-ish hours to be able to pick this up at $9 a deck, which honestly is an absolute steal. Kevin, we always love having you on, man. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And for
Thank
everyone
you for
else
having
out
me
there,
on.
dude,
I really
honestly,
appreciate all the enthusiasm and love that you guys put into what you do and into the whole community, and giving me a platform to come on here and share my
anytime.
projects. So yeah,
dude,
big thanks to
we
both.
love having you on to chat cards. And honestly, every time I have to say, I'm a smidge more excited when you come on to talk about a mark deck, only because I can see the smidge more excitement on your face when it comes to a mark deck. But that's just a mutual love of marking systems right
Yeah,
there.
that's our personal bias. I'm sure there's
Yes.
someone out there who's like, mark decks are useless. You can't legitimately
Here's
play
the
a game
thing.
with them. So
Here's the thing with me and mark decks. I love them. I think they're
Yeah.
amazing, but I'm blind as a fucking bat, so they're useless to me.
oh, there you go.
Steve needs the entire back to just say K heart in
Have you seen
scribble.
Have you seen the Daredevil deck, Steve? It's from a magician named Henry Evans. He's a great magician. I'm gonna not say where he's from because I can't remember and I don't want to say incorrectly. But it was through Phoenix Card Shark.
Okay.
So it's a Phoenix design mark deck. but it is like a parlor or stage type situation marked poker deck. The marks on them are humongous. They're like an inch tall. So
you know
get
what
yourself
mock
a
deck,
Daredevil deck, and you'll
you know what
probably
mock
be
deck I can deal with and I don't have trouble with is Andre's
Ah.
deck.
Oh, the
But
butterflies.
Butterflies,
butterfly.
yeah.
I can
Oh, that's
deal
so
with
fun.
that because it's not like on the back where it's small or it's like hard to find, or it's like
Yeah,
right on the side. It's super easy to find and
interesting.
I keep telling Steve he needs to get some glasses, but he doesn't want to fold for it. He doesn't want to admit it.
Do I need
Embrace
glasses to
it.
read a deck?
I feel like you might need glasses in general.
I mean, I don't need to see a street sign from 2 miles away. I see it when I need to see it. That's all that matters.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Well,
goodness.
with that said, for anyone out there who's listening and driving, stay away from Steve and drive safe.
That's
But
right. We're gonna
Mark-
put Steve's license plate number up on the screen so that you know who to avoid.
I'll just steal someone's plate. That's okay.
definitely to avoid it. But everyone out there, make sure to mark your calendar September 7th, noonish Eastern Standard Time. Pick up
And
your retro rockets.
For those who wish that the retro rockets were marked, I'm sure with some creativity and a red Sharpie, there's plenty of areas in there where people could mark them up.
I actually noticed that earlier, and I was going to say it's interesting that you build the ability for self-marking into these, whether it's intentional or not. I don't know, but I love it still. So, and that being said, there really is, there really isn't. There are multiple easy ways to be able to mark this if you wanted for self-marking, and I definitely love that aspect of it. This is a must-have deck for sure. So for everyone out there, mark your calendar, September 7th, noonish. Make sure to pick them up. Yeah, the first 72-hour special there at $9 a deck. After that, they retail for $12, which is still an absolute steal for a crushed deck. They are limited to 2,500, so don't miss out on these. Kevin, again, thank you so much. And everyone out there watching, thank you for popping on. Thank you for keeping the chat alive. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I said before, make sure to follow the Penguin Cards Instagram so you don't miss out on future announcements of awesome decks.
Peace out, y'all.
Thanks everyone for watching. See you later.